YouTube, how's it going? Yes, you're seeing this right. I have an NBA mock draft. We usually cover just the NFL over here at Frogs Angels, but we're kind of known for covering the NFL draft, doing NFL mock drafts. So I said, why not do an NBA mock draft? Big fan of of the NBA and the NBA draft. So let's give it a shot here. Let's show you my first 10 picks. I'm going to go over them pick by pick. We'll go on to the next 10. I got the full first round here, in my opinion. First pick, Suns. Deandre Ayton, the center from Arizona. The reason I went with Ayton over Doncic is because, well, I think he's the best player in the draft. But the main thing is, when do you see a center, this athletic of a center, in a draft? Really don't see a lot of them in the NBA in general. There's a shortage on centers. So I almost think even if he wasn't the best player in the draft, even if he was like second, third, fourth, you may have to go with him here, even though there is quite a bit of athletic centers in this draft, which is very rare. I think you almost have to do it. Compared to quarterback in the NFL, not in terms of position, the point guard would be compared as the quarterback in the NBA. But why the quarterbacks are picked earlier is because there's a shortage on the elite ones. Every time you have a chance, you have to go get one. And I think a shortage on centers and this freak of an athlete center, I think you just have to get him. And I think he's worthy of the pick. So that's why I went with him. One, people talking about how the Suns got Doncic's coach. He coached them at the Eurobasket last summer, so it's not really his full-time coach. So I'm not buying in on all. He could go one, but people are overreacting a little bit on that. Kings, I went with Doncic there, the guard from Slovenia. Could play point guard, could play shooting guard, could play small forward. That's a good thing about him. 6'7" about, so point guard would be very interesting, but teams like to have the bigger point guards these days, so we will see. A very good dribbler. Maybe does too much of it at times. Is it going to work against NBA defense? But the way the league's heading, just pure offense these days, I think it can work out. Kings maybe need a big man more, unless Willie Cauley-Stein starts to develop more. But again, up here you have to go best player available, guys that can turn around your franchise. If you think that you have to go best player available in other drafts like the NFL, NBA is more important because one guy, all you need is 1 out of 5 to really turn your franchise around. Obviously, to win the NBA Finals, you would like to have more than just one guy, but it starts with the draft, in my opinion. Number 3, the Hawks, Jaren Jackson Jr., forward/center from Michigan State. Maybe my favorite player in the draft. I think Ayton's the best player in the draft, but Jackson, I just got a feeling about this guy. He's a freak athlete, can play forward, can play center, maybe needs to gain some weight to play center, but he's very strong for his size. He's very good in the post. He gets blocks. He can shoot threes. That center three is just seemed to be automatic for him, which is crazy considering his length. And crazy his numbers considering how many minutes he got, around 21 minutes, and what he did was just very impressive. So I think he'll be a better NBA player than he was in college. Maybe needs to control the fouls. That's why he only played 21 minutes, but I think he'll be good. I think the Hawks could use him at center in the near future. So, again, one of my favorite players in the draft, maybe my favorite player in the draft, Jaren Jackson. Grizzlies at 4, go Marvin Bagley, the third power forward from Duke, maybe the best player available at this point. Pair him with Marc Gasol. I've heard people say they could look for replacements for Gasol or Conley just because of their injuries. But I think Bagley's worthy of the pick, and you compare him with Gasol. I think Conley and Gasol are their best players, even though they're on the decline maybe because they're getting up there in age and they're getting hurt. You got to do your research. You got to figure out your medical staff. Are they good to go? You got to think they're good to go next year. So pair Bagley with Gasol and Conley there at point guard. I think they can be back to a winning team. 5, Mavericks go Mohamed Bamba, center from Texas. They got Dennis Smith, great draft pick last year. Let's get a center. Again, it's rare to see these centers. There's a good amount of athletic ones in this draft. So these teams picking up here are pretty lucky. They're picking up here this year, which was probably purposely done by a lot of these teams. But Bamba, obviously the length is ridiculous. Similar to Jackson, maybe foul trouble is a little bit of a concern, but I think another player that will be better in the NBA than he was in college for that 1 year. But the Mavericks can for sure use his talents. I don't think you can pass on him here. Could be Porter Jr. at 5, though. 6, I went with the Magic taking Porter Jr. From Missouri. Maybe this time last year he was known as the first overall pick coming out of high school because he was so dominant, but only played 2 or 3 games at Missouri. Didn't look so hot, but I'm not really worried about it. It is a little risky. I think he'll be a great NBA player. He's one of those true forwards, small forwards that can also take the ball up. People say the Magic could take a point guard here. I don't know if a point guard's worth the 6th pick, especially when Porter's a guy. We see that so many times on so many teams that really your point guard isn't your guy taking the ball up. I think Porter can be one of those guys, too good to pass. The Bulls at 7. Chicago Bulls is my team, unfortunately. No, I shouldn't say that, but recently hasn't been good. But I have them getting Wendell Carter, the center from Duke. They could use a center. Maybe not the most appealing pick for Bulls fans, but I think he's worthy of the pick. The center from Duke is what I like. Robin Lopez, but obviously it's pretty obvious that Lopez isn't part of the future plans. So they need another center. They also need a small forward, maybe another shooter, depending on what they do in free agency at the 2-guard position. But Wendell Carter at this point, with all the 6 guys ahead of him gone, makes sense. I do like Bridges from Nova to the Bulls, possibly playing small forward. So we will see. But this is predicting the pick. This isn't what I would do, but Carter makes sense to the Bulls at 7. 8, the Cavs go Colin Sexton, point guard, Alabama. It's got to be a point guard, you would think. Which one is the question? Sexton, Trae Young, Alexander from Kentucky. We'll talk about him more in a little bit, but I think Sexton's a Cavs type of player. He really could score, and I think he won't turn the ball over too much. He's willing to pass. Trae Young, maybe too many turnovers. Too many turnovers to pair with LeBron, but I mean, if he's coached and developed well, he will be a very good player. But I went with Sexton here to the Cavs. The Knicks get Mikal Bridges, guard/forward from Nova. Best player, no-brainer in my opinion. Best player at 9 in this draft. So the Knicks take him, too good to pass. 10, the Sixers go Zaire Smith, shooting guard for Texas Tech. A lot of potential with him. I think he really could shoot the 3-ball too. The Sixers will look at that. Future J.J. Redick replacement. He can't have too much longer, but still playing at a high level. So this one really isn't for right now. Maybe in the rotation for right now, but the Sixers obviously going to be a contender going forward. So this is a future pick here. I like him a lot. I think people are sleeping on him. On to the next 10 picks. Number 11, the Hornets go Kevin Knox, forward from Kentucky. I think he'll play power forward. Maybe the best player on the board at this point, so that's why the Hornets go at him. I think he can start at the power forward position early on in his career. 12, the Clippers pick 12 and 13, which is very impressive. So they go Trae Young from Oklahoma here. A lot of potential. I feel more comfortable with him at 12 rather than the top 10. But I think he'll be a darn good scorer one day. He just needs some developing. But we'll talk about the point guard situation once we get to Alexander there. 13, Miles Bridges, 4 from Michigan State. Once again, I think too good to pass. At this point last year, maybe thought of as an earlier draft pick. I think the talent in this draft pushed him down a little bit, but the fact that he can play small forward or power forward is very impressive to me. So the Clippers get 2 guys that can help him make an impact right away. The Nuggets go Robert Williams, forward from Texas A&M. Guy that got some center. Got the chance to play some center, but I don't know if his height can make some or helps him be a center in the NBA. So power forward's more like it. Nuggets could use some depth there at the position if Millsap can't stay healthy. But overall, I do like the Nuggets team going forward. Very impressive. 15, the Wizards go Mitchell Robinson, center from Western Kentucky, but he didn't actually play for Western Kentucky. The last time he played was in high school, but he is eligible for the draft. I think he's going to go higher than people thought. I think big-time recruit, even though he was enrolled at Western Kentucky. You're supposed to go to Western Kentucky. Again, back to the centers, the shortage on centers. You don't really see a lot of them every draft like this, athletic center. So I think maybe teams will overdraft him a little bit. Not that I don't think he can be good, but the Wizards need a big man desperately for the future. So really right now. So I think Robinson goes earlier than people think. To the Suns, this would be something if they got Shea Alexander, the point guard from Kentucky here. 6'6" point guard. What I really want to talk about the point guards here, I think he honestly could be the first point guard off the board because he's 6'6". Was kind of quiet the first half of the year at Kentucky. Towards the end of the year, was really taking over games. Looked like their best player for sure. Didn't even look anywhere close to their best player earlier on in the year. So, I mean, he's getting better already. So, again, I think 16 was late. Once I got here to the Suns, I still couldn't believe I had him on the board, and they would run to the podium to make this pick because they need a point guard too, and I think he could be a day one starting point guard for them. I may like him better than Trae Young right now. So that's a debate. You can make that Alexander could be the first point guard off the board because of his size and athleticism and his improvement already, his progression already. So that would be a big win for the Suns at 16. 17, the Bucks go Dante DiVincenzo, shooting guard from Nova. Another one I think could go earlier in this. Was a rotation guy, even though he got tons of minutes, more minutes than some starters, and just could flat out score the ball. We see what he did in the national championship game. He should go earlier in this, honestly. The Bucks could use another shooting guard there. Depending on what they do at point guard. Who's the future point guard? Is it Brogdon? Can DiVincenzo be the future point guard? I mean, he's just got that it factor. He's got swag. He's got clutch. He's got the clutch gene. So I think he'll be a great NBA player. I would take him earlier in this. The Spurs would love to have DiVincenzo. That'd be a Spurs player. But I'm going Kyrie Thomas, shooting guard from Creighton. This guy can flat out score as well. Very underrated in my opinion. I think maybe because he's not a freshman or even a sophomore. He's a junior, so maybe that's why he's underrated. He can score, though. I think the Spurs will recognize a player like that, so we'll see if it actually happens. Another shooting guard going to the Hawks here. Shooting guard from Miami, Lonnie Walker. We had the Hawks taking a big man with the first pick, so get another shooter in there for the future from Miami. He's been getting a lot of love lately, but I think this is more of his range. 20, the T-Wolves go with Aaron Holiday, point guard, UCLA. Actually, the brother of Drew and Justin Holiday. What are they feeding those Holiday boys? That's what I want to know. I want some of that. But he's another underrated player. He's scoring just over 20 points per game. Like, there's some pretty good point guards in this draft. I mean, there's no elite ones, but there's some guys that can play right away. The T-Wolves, I think, need a point guard like this. So this would be a heck of a pick here at 20. I think he has potential to go earlier in this, but this is where I had him falling here. So we're on to the last 10 picks of the draft. My predict-to-pick mock draft, I should say. 21, the Jazz go Chandler Hutchison, guard/forward from Boise State. Really, it's going to be some depth at first for the Jazz. Depending on what they do with Donovan Mitchell. He's one of those guys, he's a two-guard, but he can take the ball up. He can play point guard. Honestly, Ricky Rubio has been fine, though, so maybe the future is Donovan Mitchell at 1 and then Hutchison at 2. I do like him at small forward, though. He's been getting some promises from teams he'll go in this range, so I have him going in this range. 22, Keita Diop Bates, the forward from Ohio State to the Bulls. The Bulls got 2 first-round picks, this one from the Nico Mirotic trade. So a good replacement, a forward, kind of similar. Could play power forward, but I think should play small forward. Same with Mirotic. He's been playing stretch 4, but I thought he would have been better at the 3 spot, mainly because his offense. But so same thing here with Bates. I think the Bulls need a small forward. I think Bates can play small forward. I think being a dominant player in the Big Ten is going to be appealing to the Bulls front office. So that pick makes sense there. Could potentially go earlier in this because he was dominant in college at both scoring and rebounds. 23, the Pacers go Landry Shamet, guard from Wichita State. 6'5", 6'6" guard. Can play point, can play shooting guard, so that is appealing to teams. The bigger point guards are very appealing, so the Pacers could use him. Question is, Oladipo, obviously, is like Donovan Mitchell, like we discussed with him. He's a 2-guard, but he's the guy of that team. He takes the ball up. He can run point. And so you get a guy in here that can do both, point guard or shooting guard from Wichita State, so it makes sense to me there. He's been getting some love lately, so could sneak up higher. The Blazers go Amari Spellman, another Villanova guy. See how many Villanova guys get drafted in the first round. Same with Duke, too, and a couple of the other teams. But Spellman got some center action in college, but will be more of a power forward in Nova. But can score, too. Doesn't just play like a center down low. He can score. So the Blazers obviously got their 2 guards. They need some big man help. 25, the Lakers go Mo Wagner, center from Michigan. A very likable guy. Plays very hard. I think he can get better with some NBA developing. It's tough to figure out what the Lakers will take. Could use another guard, but that's only if they're confident. I think the guard can help them right now. They have a bunch of guys that have potential. So picking down here at 25, I think you get a big man that can develop in the near future here and take over the center spot. So I do like Wagner a lot, but this is more of his range. The Sixers, with their second pick, go Jonte Porter, the forward from Missouri. Can play 3, can play 4. I like him better at 3. Sixers got a deep team. Maybe they'll try to get future picks because they don't really need players like this down here right now. So, but a guy like Porter has a lot of potential. 2 Porter guys from Missouri get drafted. 27, the Celtics. They just got to go best player available. Troy Brown, the guard from Oregon, I think should go earlier in this, but this is where I had him falling off the board. I mean, the Celtics, another team that don't really need a pick. They could trade it for future, for when a time they have free agents possibly. They got plenty of guards, but and another Brown in here, but a guy that really could take over games. He can play point guard, can play shooting guard, can take the ball up. They don't need that right now, but if injuries happen, you need it. So just too good to pass here. The Warriors go Gary Trent Jr., shooting guard from Duke. They really don't have any shooting guard depth. And in Klay Thompson, you expect to be back, but is a free agent, so we'll see. Gary Trent, just too good to pass. Another guy that I think will be better in the NBA than he was in college. Good shooter. 29, the Nets go Anthony Simmons, guard from IMG. Yes, that's a high school. Didn't go to college, but since there's a year gap from high school till now, he's eligible for the draft. He can play point guard or shooting guard. Very athletic. Could end up going higher in this. It depends on the teams that really value the high school tape over the college tape, which there's a lot of teams that do that. So very athletic point guard / shooting guard. So he could potentially go earlier in this. So maybe play alongside D'Angelo Russell in the near future. And the Hawks at 30 go Jalen Brunson, the point guard from Villanova. Is he an NBA type point guard? That is the question. But he's a very hard player, very high motor player, I should say. A very good player overall. The Hawks could use another point guard for the future. Schroeder's their guy right now, but maybe too good to pass here at 30. But there's plenty of guys that I think are worthy of first-round picks that could slip out, obviously. A couple of Kansas guys, Graham and Newman, just play at a high level, so they're not getting any love for first-round talk, so I did not include them here because this is predict the pick. If it was up to me, I would put them in the first round if I was picking, but a lot of guys that could slide out. We will see. It's a pretty deep class for the most part. We don't really see this every year, so I'm pretty excited to see this NBA draft this year. A lot of good centers. I am a Bulls fan. We got 2 picks. We'll see if we can blow them. I have a feeling that Garpax are going to package them and trade up, which could be good, but it's got to be for the right player. I have a feeling they really like Porter Jr., but could be gone, so they may have to trade up for him. I am a fan of Jaren Jackson, so we'll see. Should be a fun draft. It's coming up, but that'll do it for this one. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. We got plenty of NFL coverage on the channel already, and plenty more coverage to come. So that'll do it for this one. Goodbye.